Obviously the last video that I made was all to do with the impact of coronavirus on football. That was at the end of last week where it all basically just kicked off. In the space of 48 hours, literally the whole country ground to a halt. Fortunately, we're not as far advanced yet as the likes of Spain, France, Italy and China have been, but things, indication-wise, are only going to get worse here in the UK. Football-wise, pretty much everything has now stopped. As of Monday the 16th of March, the National League joined pretty much every other league in the country in their decision to postpone matches until the first weekend in April. And we talk about what all of this means for non-league clubs, whether the chances of matches resuming at that point is realistic at all, and all the rest of what is the current update coronavirus-wise in non-league football in this video. But first of all, the video is sponsored by OneFootball, which again, as I've mentioned previously, is a great website with lots of different news when the football is actually happening. But currently with all this coronavirus stuff going on, it does keep up to date with the latest of what is happening in the world of football in general. Yeah, if you haven't downloaded it yet, click the link in the top line of the description to check it out. Yeah, as I said in the last video, last Friday, the 13th of March, all of the games in the Premier League and EFL, as well as a lot of different games in different leagues in non-league football, were postponed. But the National League decided to go against the norm and continue to schedule their games going forwards. Matches on Saturday the 14th took place. Around half of the matches in the National League and National League North were postponed due to coronavirus. This was mainly due to teams having people within the club, either players or staff, that were self-isolating. So obviously you want all the people around them to also self-isolate. There's no point in them going and playing against another team in potentially a big stadium in front of a crowd and interact with a lot of people. That basically called a lot of the games off in the National League and National League North, about half of them overall. National League South, incredibly, actually all of the games went ahead. John Pemberton and Ashley Carson of Chesterfield, they voiced their opinions of anger and they couldn't understand why this was allowed to happen. EC manager Ben Strevens also was not happy with the situation, and he displayed this after the game at Notts County. Over Dorking Wanderers chairman and manager Mark White, he was actually kind of against this, and he was saying, well, the National League have done the right thing not to panic, and because of the social and economic impact of calling all these games off on all of these clubs, it was the right thing to do to continue with the games. However, if you look at it this way, Mark White is the manager and chairman. So the manager is going to be looking at it from the football side of things and the safety of his players. The chairman is going to be thinking about the financial side. So he's got both of his heads on, and maybe the financial side of his chairman role has a bigger impact in that situation. But that's an unfair thing to say potentially, because ultimately, as a lot of people have said, it is about health and safety at this point. But regardless, on Friday, the players, managers, staff, everyone that was organising games for that Saturday were completely left in limbo, because a lot of the other leagues had called their games off for the weekend early on Friday, whereas the National League waited until mid-afternoon to do so. So people were sat waiting and waiting, left in limbo, waiting to see what was going to happen, which isn't good preparation for the players for the games, and that will surely have had an impact on the mindset of the players. If you're approaching a game and you're trying to prepare in the best way possible, not even knowing whether the game is going to be on or not, or whether the game is going to be safe to be played, whether you feel comfortable being in that environment, that is a really horrible situation for a player to be in. Fast forward 48 hours to Monday, and the National League have decided to call games off until the first weekend in April. In my opinion, it is the right thing to do 100%, because everyone else is postponing games as well. It kind of felt strange, a lot of the National League and National League North and South games going ahead on the weekend when every other game pretty much was off. Also, by just postponing them until the 3rd of April, in my opinion, is a wise thing to do. I cannot see any way of games returning on the 3rd and 4th of April though. It's just a case of they're not over-committing, because by that point, hopefully the world will have calmed down a little bit and we'll be able to see what the future is really looking like, whether this coronavirus is going to have a real impact for weeks and weeks and months into the future, or whether we could be looking at returning a little bit sooner than we thought. In my opinion, it is so difficult to predict when football will return. It's just literally so up in the air. No one really knows what's going on. So football-wise, that goes right to the bottom of the pile in terms of priorities, because ultimately health is most important. However, the impact on a lot of clubs is going to be massive, and the impact on their players and their staff is going to be even bigger, because a lot of clubs will struggle to now pay their staff because they haven't got that match day income, and they haven't got any money coming commercially, because people aren't going to be investing into sponsorships and whatever very much during this time. It's just going to grind everything at football clubs to a halt. Basically, it's going to be a really challenging time for everyone, and it's a situation that is just going to be one that you just have to see how it's going to play out. No one really knows what is going to happen over the next few weeks. For me, if football returns at some point during May, then that will be a massive result, because ultimately you need to finish the seasons off. That's the best way to do things, but I will discuss how the seasons could play out in another video coming up very soon. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. How is your non-league club affected by this? If you've got any information that has given an insight into the struggles of life as a non-league footballer or as a non-league football club, let me know any thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button and click subscribe as well to stay up to date with lots of different information videos from non-league football and through this whole coronavirus phase. But yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.